It begins in the quietest possible way, without warning, without noise, without anything that would suggest the world is about to change forever. You wake up, and at first nothing feels different. The room is the same, the light falls the same way, your body moves through the same familiar routine. You reach for your phone, glance at the time, scroll through messages, just like every other morning. But then something happens. The thought appears, and it feels different, clearer, faster. You notice it immediately, even if you cannot explain why. Your mind does not hesitate the way it used to. There is no pause, no searching for words, no effort to connect ideas. Everything forms instantly, as if your brain has suddenly removed every barrier that once slowed it down. You pick up a book, something complex, something you would normally read slowly, carefully, trying to understand each sentence. Now you read a page, and you understand all of it. Not just the words, the meaning, the structure, the intention behind it. At the same time, completely. You pause, try something else. You open an article about a topic you have never studied before. Within seconds, you begin to understand it, not superficially but deeply. Concepts connect naturally. Ideas build on each other without effort. Questions appear in your mind, and answers follow immediately. It is not learning, it is knowing. Across the world, the same moment unfolds. People begin to notice that their minds are no longer limited. Problems that once felt difficult now seem simple. Information that once required time now becomes instant. Skills that once demanded years of practice suddenly feel accessible. Not fully mastered, but immediately understandable. And that changes everything. At first, the reaction is excitement. People test themselves, pushing their minds in ways they never could before. Students solve complex problems effortlessly. Workers improve processes within hours. Creators generate ideas at a speed that feels almost unnatural. Social media fills with reactions, not of confusion, but of amazement. How is this possible? I can understand everything. My brain feels different. The world celebrates, because intelligence has always been seen as an advantage. A rare one, a defining one, and now everyone has it. For the first time in human history, there is no intellectual gap. No difference in basic cognitive ability. Everyone can understand, analyze, solve, and create at the highest level. Feels like evolution. Instant. Perfect. But the first cracks appear faster than anyone expects. Because intelligence does not exist in isolation. It interacts with everything else. At first, communication becomes faster. Too fast. Conversations accelerate beyond превычного ритма. People process information instantly, respond immediately, move from one idea to another without pause. What once took minutes now takes seconds. And that creates a strange effect. Conversations become efficient, but less human. There is no hesitation. No searching. No uncertainty. And with that, something subtle disappears. The process. The effort that once made understanding feel meaningful. At the same time, work begins to change. Companies expect more, not because they demand it, but because it becomes obvious that more is possible. Tasks that once required hours now take minutes. Entire roles become unnecessary as individuals handle multiple responsibilities at once. Productivity increases, but so does expectation. Because if everyone is capable of more, then everyone is expected to do more. Competition does not disappear, transforms. Because when everyone is intelligent, intelligence is no longer the advantage. Speed becomes the advantage. Creativity becomes the advantage. Originality becomes the advantage. And those are not equally distributed. Even among geniuses. At the same time, something deeper begins to happen. People begin to question everything. Not casually, not slowly, but constantly. Beliefs that once felt stable are analyzed, broken down, reconstructed. Traditions are examined. Systems are challenged. Assumptions are exposed. Nothing is accepted without understanding. And understanding leads to doubt. Because when you can see all sides of an idea, all possible outcomes, all possible contradictions, certainty becomes difficult. People begin to hesitate, not because they lack knowledge, but because they see too much of it. At the same time, emotions begin to shift, not disappearing, but changing, because intelligence affects how people interpret their own feelings. Emotions are analyzed, understood, deconstructed in real time. Instead of simply feeling something, people begin to question why they feel it, what caused it, what it means. And that creates distance between experience and understanding. At the same time, something unexpected begins to emerge. Frustration, not because people cannot understand, but because they can. Too quickly, too completely, learning loses its excitement because there is nothing left to struggle with, nothing left to slowly discover. Everything becomes immediate, accessible, obvious, and in that immediacy, something is lost. The satisfaction of growth, the reward of effort, because effort is no longer required. Within days, the world begins to feel different. Not better, not worse, but unstable, because the systems that once relied on differences in intelligence begin to fail. Education loses its purpose. Teaching becomes unnecessary. Information becomes instantly accessible and instantly understood. The idea of expertise begins to fade, because everyone can reach the same level of understanding. At the same time, something else becomes clear. Understanding does not equal agreement. In fact, it creates more disagreement, because now everyone can build strong, logical arguments for their perspective. Debates become more complex, more detailed, more difficult to resolve. Not because people are wrong, but because everyone is right, from their own perspective, and that creates tension, not emotional, but intellectual, because now conflict is not about misunderstanding. It is about interpretation, and interpretation has no single answer. As the first day comes to an end, as people begin to realize the full extent of what has changed, one thought begins to spread. This was supposed to make everything easier, but instead, it has made everything more complicated. Because intelligence does not simplify the world. It reveals it in full detail, and that detail is not always comfortable, not always stable, not always something people are ready to face. Because when everyone becomes a genius, the question is no longer how to understand the world. It is how to live in it, and no one is sure they have the answer. It does not take long for the world to realize that intelligence on its own does not create direction, creates possibility, and possibility without limits becomes overwhelming. At first, people try to organize it. They build systems to manage the sudden expansion of understanding. Knowledge flows freely, ideas are exchanged at incredible speed, and for a brief moment, it feels like humanity is about to solve everything it has ever struggled with. Diseases are analyzed in hours. Technological problems are broken down instantly. Global issues that once felt impossible begin to look solvable. And yet, something unexpected happens. Nothing is solved as quickly as it should be, because understanding a problem is not the same as agreeing on how to fix it. And now everyone understands everything. At the same time, with equal depth, debates become endless, not emotional, not chaotic, but precise, cold, relentless. Every solution is immediately challenged by another equally valid solution. Every idea is expanded, questioned, improved, then questioned again. There is no clear authority anymore, no expert whose opinion carries more weight, because everyone has reached the same level. And that creates a new kind of paralysis, not from ignorance, but from too many correct answers. At the same time, the concept of leadership begins to dissolve. Leaders were once needed to guide decisions, to interpret complexity, to act in situations where others could not fully understand. Now, everyone can analyze every decision in real time, seeing every flaw, every alternative, every possible outcome. Authority weakens, not because it is resisted, but because it is unnecessary. And in that absence, decision-making slows. Because when everyone can see all possibilities, choosing one becomes harder. At the same time, something changes in how people experience effort. Work becomes efficient, almost effortless, but that efficiency removes something important: challenge. And without challenge, motivation begins to fade. People complete tasks quickly, perfectly, without mistakes, but they feel less connected to what they are doing. There is no struggle, no uncertainty, no gradual progress that once created a sense of achievement. Everything is immediate, and immediacy removes meaning, because meaning was often tied to the process, to the time it took, to the effort required. Now that process is gone. At the same time, creativity begins to change in ways no one expected. First, it explodes. Ideas appear constantly, faster than they can be expressed. Art, music, literature, technology all surge with new concepts, new structures, new forms that would have taken years to develop before. But then, something happens. It begins to stabilize, not because ideas stop, but because they converge. When everyone can see all possibilities, the range of truly new ideas begins to narrow. People arrive at similar conclusions, similar solutions, similar expressions, because they are all working with the same level of understanding. Originality becomes harder to define, not because creativity disappears, but because it becomes shared. And in that shared space, individuality begins to blur. At the same time, something deeper begins to shift inside individuals. Self-awareness increases, not gradually, but completely. People begin to understand themselves with the same clarity they apply to everything else. They see their patterns, their habits, their contradictions, their limitations. Nothing is hidden, not even from themselves. And that level of awareness changes behavior. Some people improve rapidly, adjusting their actions based on what they now understand. They become more precise, more intentional, more aligned with their goals. But others, they hesitate, because understanding every flaw does not always lead to change. Sometimes it leads to overanalysis. People begin to question every decision, every action, every thought. Is this the best option? Is there a better one? What am I missing? And because they can always find another possibility, they delay, they reconsider, they pause. Action slows, not because people lack ability, but because they see too many options. At the same time, emotions continue to shift, not disappearing, but becoming quieter, more controlled, because people understand them too well. They can predict their own reactions, analyze their own feelings, and in doing so, reduce their intensity. Emotional responses become shorter, less overwhelming, more manageable. And while this creates stability, it also creates distance, because intensity was part of what made experiences feel real. Without it, life becomes more controlled, more stable, but less vivid. Relationships change in the same way. People understand each other perfectly, every motive, every intention, every reaction. And while this removes misunderstanding, it also removes mystery. There are no surprises, no unexpected moments, no gradual discovery. Everything is known almost immediately, and that knowledge changes connection, because part of connection was learning. Now, there is nothing to learn. At the same time, something unexpected begins to emerge. Fatigue, not physical, but cognitive, because even though the brain can process everything, constantly operating at that level of awareness becomes exhausting in a different way. People begin to crave simplicity, not because they cannot understand complexity, but because they are always surrounded by it. They seek moments where they do not have to analyze, where they do not have to think, where they can simply exist without processing every detail. And those moments become rare, because once the mind reaches that level, it does not easily return. As months pass, the world begins to stabilize again, not by reducing intelligence, but by adapting to it. People begin to limit themselves intentionally, creating boundaries, choosing not to analyze everything, not to explore every possibility, not to optimize every decision. They reintroduce simplicity, not because they need to, but because they want to, because without limits, life becomes too open, too wide, too undefined. And in that adaptation, a final realization begins to settle. Intelligence was never the ultimate goal. It was only a tool, a way to understand the world. But understanding alone does not give direction. It does not create meaning. It does not tell you what matters, because meaning does not come from knowing everything. It comes from choosing something. And in a world where everyone knows everything, choice becomes the only thing that still defines you. Not what you understand, not what you can do, but what you decide to care about. And that decision becomes the most difficult one of all.